Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare. Treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages.
Honorable members, I'll sit and let you come in. You can take your seats. I'll sit down. Honorable members, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 42, I wish to report to the House that I have received a message from His Excellency the President regarding the nomination of a person for the appointment as chairperson of the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. Honorable members, in the message, His Excellency the President conveys that in exercise of the powers conferred by Section 201 1A and 2 of the Fisheries Management and Development Act 2016, as read together with Sections 3 and 5 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2010, he has nominated Honorable Martin Otieno Ogindo for the appointment as chairperson of the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. The President now seeks the approval of the appointment by this House. Honorable members, Standing Order 45 requires that upon receipt of notification of nomination for appointments, such as nominations shall stand committed to the relevant departmental committee of the House for consideration. In this respect, I hereby refer the message from His Excellency the President, together with the curriculum vitae and testimonials of the nominee, to the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation for consideration. Honorable members, Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2012 requires the committee which such nomination is referred to consider the matter and table a report to the House within 28 days. In this regard, the committee is expected to immediately commence the approval process. notify the nominee and the general public of the time and place for holding the approval hearings, and thereafter, upon conclusion of the hearings, table its report on or before Wednesday, 12th April 2023, to enable the House to consider the matter with statutory timelines. I thank you. Point of order, Senior.
Madam Speaker, I thought fisheries in a Committee of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. Why is this going to the blue economy? So I just thought that maybe there's a miscommunication the same.
Honorable Member, I think if you look at the new revised mandate of each of the various committee and the new designation, that is where it falls under. Look at the back page of your standing orders. Thank you, Honorable Member. Proceed.
Order number 4, petitions.
Honorable Member for Maragua, the Honorable Mary Wamaua.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Allow me on behalf to read the petition of the Muthaga Farm Company Limited in Murang'a County, drawing their attention to the following. 1, that Muthaga Farm is situated at Muthaiga Township along Thika Makutano Nyeri Road, approximately 40 kilometers to the northeast of Thika Town, within Kabiti Trading Center in Makuyu, sub-county, Murang'a County. 2, that the great grandparents of the petitioners have lived on the Muthaga farm for a long time and were present in 1936, when a white settler, Michael Contanius, arrived and occupied the farm. 3, that the settler started planting coffee in the farm, and in 1952, forced these residents to live in a camp in order to use them on the farm as workers. 4, that in 1964, the white settler became sick and left the country for treatment, but did not return, and therefore the residents continued to cultivate and occupy the land. 5, that in 1983, a private citizen who claimed to have been allocated the land by the Commissioner for RAILA'S wanted to evict the petitioners, but upon public participation led by the local administration, it was agreed that the purchaser of the land should compensate the residents. 5, 6, that Muthaga Farm farmers purchased Muthaga Farm, that is Makuyu stroke Kabiti stroke Broko 1, 51, 61 and 62, formerly LR number 9447 stroke 2, from the Department of Settlement of the Ministry of Rights in 1988, and members were issued with the title deeds. 7, that is some of the members of the ex-Muthaga Farmers Cooperative Limited went to court in 2002 to seek eviction orders for the residents without title deeds to be evicted. 8, that following a judgment by the High Court on 19th November 2002, the court gave orders to the resident to be evicted. 9, that despite the fact that the residents have been issued with eviction orders severally, they have not managed to move because they have no land to relocate to. 10, that efforts to arbitrate the matter between the residents of the farm and Muthaga farmers have not been fruitful. 11, that the matter presented in this petition is not pending before any tribunal, court of law, or independent body. Therefore, your humble petitioner pleads that the National Assembly, through the Public Petition Committee, inquires into all matters raised in this petition. 1, ensure that residents without title deeds are not evicted, considering that they have stayed on the farm for a long time. 2, ensure that long-lasting amicable solution to the concerned whirling parties therein is brought to an end. And 3, make any other necessary recommendation to the committee the committee deems fit to address the issues raised in this petition, and the petitioners will ever pray. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Next is the member for Kitui West, Honorable Edith Nyenze.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mine is a petition on behalf of the residents of Kitui West, particularly Mutongune Ward and Kaui Ward, concerning disputation of Masinga Dam in Kitui West constituency. I, the undersigned, on behalf of the residents of Kitui West constituency, draw the attention of the House to the following. That Article 69 of the Constitution provides that the state shall ensure sustainable exploitation, utilization, management, and conservation of environment and natural resources, and ensure the equitable sharing of the accruing benefits. 2, that water is a key natural resource which is essential for well-being of every individual. 3, that Kitui West constituency is arid and semi-arid area, and as a result experiences dry spells and lack of water and pastures throughout the year. 4, that the Kitui West residents' main economic activity is livestock farming, and therefore it is crucial to have adequate water for livestock use. 5, that in the recent past, the residents of Kitui West, and in particular Kaui, Mutongune, Matinyani, Kidhumula kwa Mutonga wards in Kitui West constituency have been facing difficulties in regard to provision of water for their livestock and household. 6, concerned that for more than 42 years, Kitui West residents have suffered due to lack of basic necessities such as water for both domestic use and for livestock due to the silted Masinga Dam. 7, that the residents have persistently sought assistance from government and non-governmental organization for disputation of Masinga Dam to provide water to the residents with no avail. 8, that efforts to resolve this matter with the relevant government levels and agencies have not been futile. That's futile. 9, that the matter presented in this petition is not pending before any tribunal, court of law, or independent body. Therefore, Madam Speaker, your humble petitioners pray that the National Assembly, through the Public Petitions Committee, makes an inquiry into all matters raised in this petition with a view to 1, ensuring that the disputation of Masinga Dam in Kitui West constituency is carried out by the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation to provide water to residents around the dam and its environs. And 2, make a necessary recommendation the committee may deem fit to address the issue raised in this petition, bearing in mind that Masinga Dam is a dam which was done during colonial time and it's now has no water because it is silted. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Edith Nyenze on behalf of the people of Kitui West. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. Permit me to reorganize the order paper slightly for efficiency. I kindly request that we move to order number 8 and then go back to the questions. Clerk, you may announce.
Order number 8, special motion, consideration of nominees for appointment as members of the National Climate Change Council. Question to be put.
Honorable members, permit me to put the question that taking into consideration the findings of the Committee of the National Assembly, Departmental Committee on Environment, Forestry and Mining, and the Senate Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources, in its report on the vetting of nominees for the appointment as members of the National Climate Change Council, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 14th March 2023, and pursuant to Article 132(2)(f) of the Constitution, Section 7(4) of the Climate Change Act, Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011, and Standing Order 2016-5F of the National Assembly, and the Senate Standing Order number 228-4F, A, approves the appointment of the following persons as members of the Climate Change Council. 1, Ms. Emily Mwende Waita. 2, Mr. John Kioli Kalua. And 3, Professor George Odera Outa. And B, rejects the appointment of Ms. Umra Omar as member of the National Climate Change Council. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, allow me to recognize the following schools who are seated in the public gallery. One is Mwihoko Secondary School, Ruiru, from Ruiru constituency, Kiambu County. Then Mirira Secondary School from Kiharu constituency, Murang'a County. And thirdly, to Chundwa Primary School from Lamu East constituency, Lamu County. And because Lamu is a long, long way to get to Nairobi, I will allow the Honorable Captain Rueda to take a minute to greet her guests.
Thank you, Speaker, kunipatia nafasi nami niwakaribishe watoto wangu wa Chundwa Primary School kutoka Lamu East, Faza Ward. Wametoka mbali. Speaker, watoto wametoka saa 9 usiku ndio wapate boti maji waruhusu wafike Mokoe. Kutoka Mokoe paka Nairobi imewachukua, wameondoka pale saa 3 wamefika huku saa 9 usiku. Speaker, Lamu ni mbali, nataka nichukue nafasi hii niwaombe watoto wangu, someni. Hii ni tumewaleta musome, muangalie dunia ilivyo Nairobi. Watu wamesoma. Kusoma ni muhimu. Musome ndio murudi kule kwetu kujengwe kuwe kama Nairobi. Si tumesoma, tumeambiwa paka tujipange au tutapangwa. Fanyeni bidii wanangu, musome. Masomo ndio equalizer. Musome. Mmeingia KCC, angalau mmeona hapo KCC, mumeenda Nairobi School mmeona, na tumeambiwa kule jihadhari kabla hatari. Kwa hivyo sisi tuna mambo mengi ya hatari yako karibu na sisi. Kwa hivyo naona haya mtakaoyasoma hapa, mwende mkafanye bidii, muje na nyinyi mchukue hizi nafasi. Muje na nyinyi muandikwe makazi Nairobi, sio makazi waandikwe wengine, sisi wabajuni kule tumeachwa. Kwa hivyo someni na karibuni sana. Asante Speaker.
Asante. Honorable members, we shall now revert back to order number 4, which is questions. And I think the last question is, the last petition. Apologies. The last petition is by the member for Narok East, Honorable Aramat Lemaken.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand here to public petition number 29 of 2013 regarding access road of residents of Narok East. I, the undersigned, on behalf of the residents of Nkoidinjito, Ormara, Narasha, Oltepesi, and Suswa communities, draw the attention of the House, one, that aware that access road enable connectivity, safety, mobility, and facilitate access to health, education, economic opportunities, and essential services. 2, that the residents of Nkoidinjito, Ormara, Narasha, Oltepesi, and Suswa communities are socially and economical landlord lock due to the fact that the only access road is limited by farms and other structures like Kidong Farm, Gorge Farm, Hell's Gate National Park, and Osirian Farm. 3, for a long time, the said communities have lacked direct road to access to potential market, health services, and other essential services, and disadvantaged compared to the rest of the area. The residents have been forced to take long routes to access health services. 4, that the only access road running through Hell's Gate National Park, owned by Kenya Wildlife Service, is only open on Monday and Thursday and remain closed for the rest of the week, resulting into disruption. In addition, residents who wish to use the road must pay the management of Hell's Gate National Park access fee or obtain prior permission to do so. 5, that in events of a medical emergency, affected people must wait for long at the Orkaria and Narasha gates to be granted permission to pass, and that on numerous occasions, lives have been lost and mothers have given birth while seeking to be granted access. 6, that therefore to resolve the matter with the ministries, agencies have been futile. 7, that the issue in respect of which petition is made are not pending before any court of law, constitutional body, or statutory bodies, and therefore your humble petitioners pray that the National Assembly, through the petitioners, public petition committees, 1, intervene to have the government provide an access road to direct link the affected areas to Moi Satellite Road in Naivasha. 2, intervene to the government through the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure to construct a public road to directly link the affected areas and Naivasha town and other parts of the country. 3rd, make any other order or direction that seems fit in the circumstance of this matter, and your petitioners will ever pray. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, allow me to recognize the presence of the following schools in the Speaker's Gallery. Rukanga Secondary School from Mwea Constituency, Kirinyaga County. Kai Girls Secondary School from Mwingi Central Constituency, Kitui County. Honorable members, I shall now give 30 minutes for members to comment on the 3 petitions. And those who want to comment on the 3 petitions, kindly press the intervention button. The Honorable Member for Kuria East, Marwa Kitayama.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Naomba niunge mkono petition hii ambaye rafiki yangu na jirani yangu ameleta katika jumba hili, kwamba watu wake ili waende sokoni wanafunguliwa barabara siku 2 ya wiki. Mheshimiwa Spika, sio jambo la kawaida kwamba kwa Kenya hii kuna watu ambao ili waende popote pale lazima wangoje zile siku ambazo Kenya Wildlife Services wametenga ndio wapite katika barabara hiyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono kwamba bunge hili litatue jambo hili, na wakati ambapo bunge hili linaangalia barabara hii na zinginezo, vile vile kuna barabara hiyo ambayo inatoka Lolgorian kupita pale Mararianta, kupita pale Lemek kuja mpaka Ngorengore. Mheshimiwa Spika, nayo ina matatizo kama haya kwamba tunataka kupita, itakuwa ni barabara ambayo itafanya safari hiyo ikaweze kuwa fupi kutoka Nairobi, maeneo ya Uhuru Bay kuja maeneo ya Migori, maeneo haya yote ya Kuria mpaka sehemu ya Lolgorian Kilgoris. Safari hiyo itapunguzwa kwa kilomita 150, lakini kwa sababu ya masharti mbalimbali ambayo yamewekwa, barabara hizi zimefungwa. Sisi Mheshimiwa Spika, tunapenda wanyama, wanaleta rasilimali katika nchi hii, ni wazuri wa kuangalia, ni maridadi, lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, kukuwa na wanyama isiwe ni kizingiti, isiwe ni shida, iwe kwamba ni faida kwa kila mtu. Naomba Mheshimiwa Spika kwamba jambo hili liangaliwe kwa upana, barabara hiyo aliyesema mheshimiwa, na pamoja na barabara zingine kama hiyo ambayo nimetaja ya kutoka Lolgorian, Mararianta, Lemek, kuja Ngorengore mpaka Narok, ili watu wa maeneo hayo waweze kupata faida ya rasilimali ya nchi hii. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Asante. Nominated member, the Honorable Sabina Chege. You have each 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to support the petition by Honorable Wamaua regarding resettlement of residents of Mudhanga Farm. Madam Speaker, looking at the history of this land, dated back from 1936 to all the way back to 1964, Mr. Speaker, in 83, where there is a chronology of events of the farm ownership and the people who finally occupied and bought several blocks of land. Madam Speaker, I would request that this matter is sorted. This is not just the first case where we have people who occupied land. And Madam Speaker, after disagreement with the people who are the legal owners and the ones who have become settlers, then most of the times we find them killing each other. So I'd urge the Committee on Petition to fast track this matter so that it can be sorted once and for all, and then the rightful owners of the land to be given their land, but also, Madam Speaker, for the ones who are settlers also, Madam Speaker, to have a place where they can call home. Sometimes when people stay in a place for a very long time and then they are evicted, they have no place to go. So, Madam Speaker, I just want to thank Honorable Maua for bringing in this petition so that the matter can be settled. Thank you very much.
Member for Kitui South, Honorable Rachel Nyamai.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I would like to support the two petitions, Honorable Speaker, from the one that has been raised by the Honorable Wamaua, that many citizens of our country found themselves in a situation where they were pushed out by colonialists, where somebody who may have been within the system or government at this time was allocated land, and then they are forced to pay. And this matter, Madam Speaker, touches on many other areas. So I would like to encourage the Honorable Mbai with his petitions committee to fast track it, and also encourage the Departmental Committee on Lands, led by the Honorable Nyamoko, to ensure that the Kenyans who are in these situations are taken care of. Madam Speaker, I would like to support also the petition that has been raised by the Honorable Edith Nyenze, member for Kitui West, that, Madam Speaker, colonialists seem to have planned our counties very well and given colonial huge dams in every constituency. And this name, Matinga, seems to be the name that was given to almost all those big dams in our constituencies. So I would like to request the committee, as they deal with this matter which has been raised by the Honorable Nyenze, which is going to bring some sustainability in acquisition of water in her area, to consider other dams that may be of the same magnitude that are within the 8 constituencies in Kitui. So I'd like to congratulate the Honorable Nyenze and request the committee to think of the other 8 dams with similar names that can be sorted out. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Kigumo, the Honorable Joseph Munyoro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the motion on Honorable Maua on Mudhanga Farm. I would like to propose that these issues always be dispensed with, because we know we come from Murang'a and we've had a lot of issues on land. We have a lot of historical injustices where people were evicted from their ancestral land, occupied by whites, and then the land eventually, when it got independence, it went to other people. And I think looking at how long this matter has been, that these people have been there for almost 100 years and are still being dispossessed of that land, I propose that this petition is handled with, that it is dispensed with, and those people are rightfully given that title of the land so that they occupy it rightfully. Madam Speaker, we've had issues with such schemes of land. We've had murders, we've had killings because of people feeling that they are being dispossessed of their land. And I think it is only right and fair that Mudhanga farm is dealt with and those people are settled. So I rise to support this petition, and I also rise to ask that it be dispensed with first, and any other that we have, because we have several in our county, that they are dispensed with. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Tetu, Honorable Geoffrey Mwangi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to support the resettlement of these people. And Madam Speaker, it's very important that I highlight that this does not just affect the people in Maragua constituency. There are indeed many other people who find themselves in these situations, people who have been squatters in lands that they have occupied for a long time, but without having the requisite titles. People who have been living, outside some of our forests who are evicted. And it is very, very important that in this country, we now come up with a comprehensive resettlement policy for all these people who basically live as squatters in their own land. So, Madam Speaker, I rise to support, and I say that this should be extended not just to these residents of Maragua, but to indeed many other residents in this country who are in a similar situation. I rise to support.
Thank you. Member for Mwingi Central, the Honorable Gideon Engineer Mulyungi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this petition. And I also want to take this opportunity to welcome students from Kai Secondary School from my constituency who are in this house today. Madam Speaker, Masinga Dam is very important to Kitui, and then desilting and preserving is very important for the people of Kitui. Kitui still experiences inadequate water. Over and above the current provision, Kitui still needs more water resources to supply more water for drinking and irrigation. Therefore, continued silting will dry up the dam and elevate the problem of scarcity of water. Therefore, the silting should be done very quickly as a matter of priority, and I support that this petition from Mendi Nyenze being dispensed with as quickly as possible. But in doing so, Madam Speaker, there are cartels who purport to desilt dams, but they go to harvest sand for business purposes. Therefore, those in charge should take care. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Nakuru Town West, Honorable David Gikaria.
Nakuru Town East, my dear Honorable Speaker.
I stand corrected, thank you.
Thanks. Honorable Speaker, I arise to support my brother, Honorable Ken Aramat from Narok East, or as regarding the refusal by KWS for them to be able to use that route. Honorable Speaker, as rightly as the Honorable members just indicated, their main market from Narok East is Naivasha, Gilgil, Nakuru, and beyond. But unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, the residents and the people of Narok East cannot be allowed to use the opening of the road on Mondays and Thursdays. First, there is the GDC, which has actually environmentally spoiled the ecosystem of that region. And there are no animals anywhere in Hell's Gate other than the upper side where the road itself does not pass. So in the first place, even if for KWS, for them to be able to lock that gate and charge ordinary Kenyans who wants to use, because roads are supposed to open up a place and allow the residents of Narok East to be able to do their business of marketing and other things with a lot of ease. But I once went to that place and I had to pay for me to access that route from Oserian, and upon the exit again, you're supposed to cough a few shillings again when you're exiting. So, and particularly, and what saddened me most is about the sick people. Whenever they want to be rushed to hospital, the nearest hospital is in Gilgil, which is around only 20 to 25 kilometers. But they have to go all the way to Maimayu, then come down to Gilgil or come up to.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mwingi West, Honorable Charles Ngusia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the 3 petitions, beginning with the one in Kitui West. Madam Speaker, I've known this dam for many years, and it was very important for Mheshimiwa Nyenze to present it here on the floor of the House. Madam Speaker, the dam has been supplied. It used to supply water for 3 constituencies, Kitui Rural, Mwingi West, and Kitui West. So it is very important we engage and conclude on this matter, since the President even said he will be focusing a lot of agendas on the issues of water. The other issue in Narok East, sorry, Madam Speaker, it is very important we deal it once and for all. I've visited the area before, and residents even don't have freedom to move and even to transport goods and services to other areas, Madam Speaker. With Wamchomba, so many issues on the land in our country, it needs to be dealt with, and I fully support the 3 petitions. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Lamu East, Honorable Rueda Obo.
Asante Bispika kunipatia nafasi nami nichangie. Bispika, kusema la kweli, hii kupimiwa kwa barabara inaleta athari nyingi sana. Sisi Lamu mambo hayo tunayapitia, nimekuwa ni kama ni kawaida Lamu. Mimi nimeshangaa, nilifikiri ni Lamu peke yake, kumbe kuna area zingine pia zinapata shida kama hizo. Bispika, sisi Lamu barabara ikifika saa 12 kaunti nzima imefungwa, iko locked, imefungwa, hakuna ruhusa kutoka. Kukiwa na emergency ni ambulance peke yake ndio inatoka. Na sehemu ukipambana nao special force, mimi mwenyewe mheshimiwa nasomea kama mtoto mdogo, ukipambana nao hapo. Bispika, barabara pia ya kwenda Kiunga hakuna gari inapita. Ukiwa Kiunga ina emergency paka utumie bahari, na bahari saa nyingine ni rough, watu wengi wamepata incident nyingi kwa bahari. Mimi na support huyu mheshimiwa petition yake ifatiliziwe pia na ifatilizie na zingine. Bispika, haya mambo haya sisi ilipotokea COVID, watu wa Kenya walipopata zile curfew, zile amri ya kutotoka, sisi ilikuwa yale tushayazoea kwetu. Kwetu Lamu mara ni wavuvi curfew, mara ni barabara hii haipitwi, mara ni hivi, inatuathiri sana kwa uchumi. So naomba petition iangaliwe na kamati vizuri, ihakikishe jambo hili limerekebishwa, na tena pia hizo baraka hizo zisongee kwetu. Asante Bispika.
Member for Kilifi North, the Honorable Owen Bayer.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to contribute to these 3 petitions. One, as you notice, Honorable Speaker, the Committee on Petition is going to have a lot of work, And I do not know what we are going to do within our standing orders, but I remember when I used to be a member of the Committee on Lands, we used to be that committee under the chairmanship of the Honorable Lady Rachel Nyamai. We used to have very many petitions, and it came to a time when we were always seeking for more time from Parliament to do those petitions, but at the end of the 12th Parliament, I think the several petitions we didn't manage. I do not know how a committee whose job is only to look at petitions from all areas will manage these petitions. Honorable Speaker, I think as we are trying to amend standing orders, we may need to relook at what this committee is able to do. Otherwise, we might just be presenting petitions here. They're very important, and especially the petitions on lands. I was there, I know how tedious they can be, how you have to travel very many kilometers to go and see those lands, and how you have to meet almost every day to look at those petitions and bring those. And yet we have finished how many? We are almost going to the first break, and yet we haven't had even one report being presented here after all those many petitions that have been presented. So, Honorable Speaker, as you sit with the Speaker, you may need to reconsider this issue of a committee on just petitions. They might be biting more than they can chew. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mbeere North, Honorable Geoffrey Ruku. I think you're the second last one. Yes, what's your point of order? Member for Nyando.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. Just before we began, this house was full house. And I'm disturbed that our colleagues from across the aisle aren't in this house. I would want to know whether they're safe wherever they are and what could have occasioned their mass exit from the house, Madam Speaker. We may also have to excuse ourselves and leave to just find out whether they're in good shape or there is a serious catastrophe that has befallen them that I need.
The last one, I think, is the comments on the petitions. The Honorable Member for Kitui Rural, Honorable David Mboni.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't want to support the Honorable from Nyando. I think he's trying to tell us he's a coward. Honorable Speaker, I want to support the petition by Honorable Nyense for distilling of Matinga Dam. Actually, Matinga in Kikamba means tractors. These dams, they are dotted everywhere in Ukambani. And it's like the colonialists knew that there was a lot of water shortage in Ukambani, and they did a lot of dams. Unfortunately, these dams are silted, they are not providing water. People are walking for long distance to fetch water. So it's our request that as they look at Matinga Dam in Kitui West, they also look at other dams dotted across the county. Madam Speaker, I want the Council note that Kitui town gets water from Masinga Dam, and that even that water is not enough. There's a lot of shortage of water even in Kitui town. I want to urge the government to fast track the work going on in Dwage Dam, because this dam is going to provide adequate water for drinking. It's also going to provide hydro power and irrigation. But there is also the proposal of High Grand Falls Dam, which is going to be a very big dam. And if the government can be able to get enough funds to do this dam, plus the Dwage Dam, I think the water shortage in Ukambani will be sorted out. Thank you very much.
I think we'll now move to the next order, but allow me first. Honorable members, allow me to recognize the presence in the public gallery of Kikaso Secondary School from Mwala constituency, Machakos County. Honorable members, we can now proceed next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Honorable Baya, sitting in for the Leader of Majority.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Before, I just want to tell my friend that when I'm here, the majority is here. So don't worry. If you see me here, we are enough. We can handle you very well. So don't worry about about the absence. Yes, yes. We can handle, they're safe, but we can handle you. I can handle you. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, March 16th, 2023. 1. Reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following constituencies for the year ended 30th June 2019 and the certificates therein. Old Rock, Samburu North, and Olkalao. 2. Reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year ended 30th June 2020 and the certificates therein. Kenya Post Office Savings Bank and the National Cancer Institute of Kenya. 3. Reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year ended 30th June 2021 and the certificates therein. A. Agricultural Development Corporation and the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency. 4. Annual reports and financial statements of the Power of Mercy Advisory Committee for the financial year 2021-2022 from the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice. 5. Annual reports and financial statements of the National Council on the Administration of Justice, NCAJ, for the financial year 2021-2022 from the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice. 6. Reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year ended 30th June 2022 and certificates therein. Capacity Development Project for Sustainable Forest Management in Kenya, CADE. Grant number 22, Kenya Forest Service. Youth Enterprise Development Fund. COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund, the National Treasury. National Exchequer Account, the National Treasury. Contingencies Fund, the National Treasury. Agricultural Information Resource Center Revolving Fund. Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, Staff Housing, Mortgage and Car Loans. The Commission on Administration of Justice, Staff Mortgage and Car Loans. The Commission on Administrative Justice. Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Kenya National Commission on Human Rights Car Mortgage Loan Scheme. Strengthening drought resilience for smallholder farmers and paternalists in the IGAD regional project number 3, DRESS EA07 OSSKE/20, Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Sirari Corridor Accessibility and Road Safety Improvement Project Isbania Kisii Ahero AI Road Rehabilitation, Kenya National Highways Authority. Nairobi Outer Ring Road Improvement Project, Kenya Urban Roads Authority. National Action Plan on Artisanal Small-Scale Gold Mining Project, Ministry of Environment and Forestry. System Land-Based Emissions and Estimates in Kenya SLIC Project, Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Kenya Enabling Activities for HFC Phase Down Project, grant number UNEP KN/SEV/81/TAS/0+1, Ministry of Environment and Forestry. And lastly, Madam Speaker, East Africa Skills for Transformation and Regional Integration Project, ES-TRIP IDA loan number 6334 KE, Meru National Polytechnic. I wish to lay the paper, the Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
We'll begin with a question from the member for Dagoretti North, the Honorable Beatrice Ilachi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to ask the question 047-2023. Could the Cabinet Secretary report on the state of preparedness for implementation of the competence-based curriculum in junior secondary schools located in informal settlements, particularly those in Nairobi City County? 2, explain the measures that have been put in place to address the inadequacy of facilities such as laboratories and recreation facilities in junior secondary schools, especially those located in informal settlement in Nairobi City County. And 3, provide details on the number of teachers who have been trained and deployed to teach in junior secondary schools nationally. Specify the number that has been deployed to junior secondary schools in informal settlements in Nairobi City County, and state whether the teacher allocation meets the recommended student-teacher ratio. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Dagoretti North. This question is to be replied before the Departmental Committee on Education. Next is Member for Suba South, the Honorable Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madam Speaker. I rise to ask the following question to the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action. Could the Cabinet Secretary state when the government intends to gazette Suba South and Suba North sub-counties as hardship areas for the purposes of enabling the Teacher Service Commission to implement the collective bargaining agreement, CBA, that declared the two sub-counties as hardship areas? And could the Cabinet Secretary confirm that the government is committed to facilitating the TSC to pay the teachers in the said sub-counties all outstanding hardship allowances that ought to have become payable from the date the CBA became effective? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member. This one is now deferred. The question from the member for Wajir East. Honorable Karoli Omondi, your question shall be replied by the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security. The next question is deferred as the member is away on official duties. That's the member for Wajir East, Honorable Aden Mohammed. So we'll move to the next question by the nominated member, Honorable Sabina Chege.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to ask question number 050 of 2023 in today's order paper, and it is directed to Cabinet Secretary, Water, Sanitation, Irrigation. One is provide details regarding the contract, sum, and period for construction of Merira Dam in Murang'a County and the number of households that the dam was supposed to benefit. And secondly, give the status of construction of Merira Dam and state when it will be completed for the residents to benefit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Sabina Chege, that question will be replied by the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation. I know it was previously called Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, but it has since been amended by the Procedure and House Rules, which was approved by the House, to read Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation. Next question is by the member for Kinango, the Honorable Gonzi Rai.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to ask question number 051 to ask the Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide details of the ownership of Taru Ranch and confirm whether the parcel of land is validly registered? 2. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why there was a grant of extension of lease of Taru Ranch without the necessary stakeholder approval required before such a grant is given? 3. Could the Cabinet Secretary consider taking appropriate interventions through the Lands Registrar, Kwale County, to undertake investigations into the new title number CR 66309 provided to Taru Ranch and order a revocation of the title deed to its rightful owners? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Gonzi Rai, that question shall be replied before the Departmental Committee on Lands. Statement by the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2a, I rise to give the following statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Tuesday, 14th March 2023, to prioritize the business for consideration during the week. Honorable Speaker, as members are aware, this week the House approved reports of the 2023 medium-term debt management strategy and the 2023 budget policy statement for the financial year 2023-2024. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to thank the committees and indeed the House for the steadfast commitment that saw the conclusion of this important business in our budget cycle. Honorable Speaker, on Tuesday next week, it is expected that the Division of Revenue Bill 2023, which is pegged on the 2023 budget policy statement that was approved yesterday, will be published and read a first time. Therefore, the House will continue with the general debate on proposals to amend the Constitution and the standing orders, as well as debate on the report of the 61st session of the Organization of Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific Parliamentary Assembly and the 42nd session of the ACP-EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly and the second reading of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill 2022, should they not be concluded today. The House will also begin debate on reports of delegations representing Kenya at the Pan-African Parliament and the Interparliamentary Union. Honorable Speaker, finally, the House Business Committee shall reconvene on Tuesday, 21st March 2023 to schedule business for the rest of the week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Honorable members, we had reordered the order paper, but now we can go back to order number 9 because we had already dispensed with order number 8. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, report on the consideration of the draft Salaries and Remuneration Commission, Remuneration and Benefit of State and Other Public Officers Regulations 2022. Resumption of debate.
The Honorable, so we shall resume debate. I have on the list the Honorable Member for Kadiani, Honorable Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to also contribute on the report of the Departmental Committee on Delegated Legislation that is dealing with the regulations brought to it through the SRC, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Madam Speaker, I want to just quote a few things. First, Chapter 15 of the Constitution, Article 248, identifies that there are 10 commissions and 2 independent offices. Then Article 249, Part 2 states that the commissions and holders of independent offices are A, subject only to this Constitution and the law, and B, are independent and not subject to direction or control by any body or authority. Madam Speaker, none of the commissions is supposed to be a prefect of the others. But Madam Speaker, when this committee met with the Judicial Service Commission, the Teacher Service Commission, Parliamentary Service Commission, and the Public Service Commission, they all complained of meddling in their own affairs by the SRC. So, Madam Speaker, it is important to note that the Constitution is very clear about each and every one of them and the mandate that is given to them. Madam Speaker, when these commissions were being formed, I think we needed to have asked ourselves in 2010 whether each of them really needed to be full-time. Because, Madam Speaker, what happens is that when you form a commission and the job that they are given or the responsibilities are not enough, then they will start interfering and getting involved in other commissions and other state corporations. So, Madam Speaker, I think maybe we needed to ask ourselves whether even SRC needed to remain as a full-time commission, because maybe that is the idle time that they're getting is what is making them start meddling. Madam Speaker, on the general functions and the powers of commissions and independent offices, Article 252D states as follows, that they may perform any roles assigned to them by the Constitution or through legislation. Madam Speaker, as a member of Parliament, the commission that represents us is a Parliamentary Service Commission, and it has been mandated by Article 127, Part 6A, to deal with matters of member services and facilities. It is very unfortunate that SRC has continuously encroached on the roles and responsibilities of the Parliamentary Service Commission and tried to usurp its roles. So, Madam Speaker, it's important that we figure out how do we deal with this monster called SRC. Article 234A sets the roles and regulations of SRC, and it states as follows, Madam Speaker, that they are supposed to set and regularly review remuneration and benefits of state officers. B, they are supposed to advise the national and county governments on the remuneration and benefits of all other public officers. But while doing this, Part 5 is very clear. They must follow the following principles. A, they must check whether the wage bill is sustainable. B, they make sure that the pay that is being given to these public officers and state officers is attractive enough or competitive enough to attract people or workers to the public sector. C, recognize productivity and performance. And D, have transparency and fairness. Madam Speaker, it is very shocking to note that the Judicial Service Commission members or state officers get salaries that are increased on an annual basis, but Parliamentary Service Commission state officers get stagnant pay. So why is that transparent? Is that fair? Why do you treat one state officer different from another? But let me say, I thank God for the provisions of the SRC Act that compels them as SRC to present any regulations to this House before they can be acted upon, unlike all other state corporations and all other implementing bodies. Now, the Statutory Instruments Act, which is what governs or guides the operations of the Committee of Delegated Legislation, is very clear about public participation. Madam Speaker, when making subsidiary legislation, all these commissions are complaining that there were, even if there was any invitations, their views were not taken into consideration. That obviously means you cannot say there is public participation when you call drivers, bodyguards, and they sign attendance sheets, and you don't get to deal with the matters that are brought to the commission. So I think when it comes to public participation, I believe that there was not adequate public participation that was carried out by this body. But then, Madam Speaker, finally, I want to say that the SRC somehow believes that in operating or carrying out their responsibilities, they have to find a way of reducing or cutting salaries down to size. It is very unfortunate that when we are going through inflation, there is a body that sits down there and figures out how to reduce. And Madam Speaker, it is not just reducing salaries. When you deal with other mandates of other commissions and affect allowances of other state officers, obviously you're reducing their buying power and therefore creating a situation where they are unable to carry out their responsibilities as they were able to before. And you cannot do that at a time when the prices of unga have gone up, the prices of petrol have gone up. It is unfortunate, and I think that this SRC needs to be stopped. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I support the committee, and I ask that we all support the committee's report. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Machakos County, the Honorable Joyce Kamene.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I just want to air my voice on the SRC. The regulation, the draft regulations that it forwarded clearly shows that there was no public participation on the other commissions. For example, to regulate the non-financial benefits given to state officers. That is not the mandate of the SRC. And also to regulate salaries of other public officers not within their mandate. I don't see why SRC wants to overstep its mandate. And it is clear in the Constitution, and they know what they are supposed to do. and also the pensions to employees of other state bodies that are not, that have their service commissions, e.g. PSC, TSC, JSC, and the Parliamentary Service Commission. Those are institutions that have the mandate to regulate the state, the salaries or the pensions of their employees. Why SRC wants to step in their in mandate that is not theirs leaves a lot to be desired. It means that, and it clearly shows that the Salaries Regulation Commission does not have enough and is overstepping on other bodies. So I wish to say that this...
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, sorry for interrupting the Honorable Joyce Kamene, but I'm really perturbed by the actions of the member for Nyando and the member for Muhoroni. They are speaking right in front of the Honorable Kamene and conversing in Kidoluo. And for all I know, Luopin is not a language that is recognized in the House. And no, Honorable Speaker, it's this kind of impunity that is destroying the fabric of our nation. And we can't allow them from the streets to their houses and now bring it to the August House. Honorable Speaker, you must take action against the member for Nyando. I know he's probably feeling he has impunity because last night he was hosting a delegation of people who are planning to cause violence and chaos in Nairobi on Monday. But we must tell him this is the National Assembly. We shall not allow him to carry on with the same impunity on the floor of the House. And he must also know even his house on Bogani Road is now under watch. It is now a crime of sin. We shall not allow you to use even your private residences to plan bloodshed in this country. And we shall not allow you and your leader to continue swimming on the blood of Kenyans to access power. It shall not happen. It might have happened in the past, but not anymore, Honorable Speaker. Please protect the Honorable Kamene from the unnecessary, I don't know if it's picketing or a violent display of arrogance and impunity to be conversing in Doluo in the National Assembly. Maybe they can join the Kisumu County Assembly from here.
Let us allow the Honorable... Do you have a point of order, Member for Nyando? Okay. I can't hear you, Member for Nyando.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I seldom engage in altercations, especially with people who claim to have some leadership roles within this House, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've been mentioned quite adversely by the leader. Firstly, I decide who visits me at any given time, and no one has any control over who visits me at my place, Madam Speaker. The leader seems to have a very big problem when the leadership of AZIMIO One Kenya Coalition visits my house. Madam Speaker, I can even extend an invitation to my friend Honorable Ichung at any given time of the day. And even you, Madam Speaker, as a very good friend of mine. But again, fundamentally, I think we shouldn't belittle this August House by bringing in extraneous matters that have absolutely no linkage to what is happening in this House, Madam Speaker. We have said, and repeatedly so, that on Monday we shall be exercising our democratic right as enshrined in the Constitution under Article 37 to peaceably assemble within the Republic of Kenya, specifically Nairobi, Madam Speaker. And we shall not, and let me repeat for the record, we are not going to do anything that is outside the constitutional ambit, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, lately, I mean, you gave him a lot of time to speak, so let me also respond, Madam Speaker. lately, my very good friend, Honorable Chungwa, seems to be...
Member for Nyando, 1 minute while we allow the point of order from the Honorable Member for Ainapkoi.
Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 83. Madam Speaker, it is very clear in the standing orders that no member shall rise pursuant to no order, standing order. You have allowed the member of Nyando to rise on no point of order. You know, and you know, he's a very good member of my committee, and he knows all the standing orders. On this one, Madam Speaker, there is no standing order he has risen on. And in fact, you know, what he's canvassing is quite irrelevant from what Honorable Kamene, in which he himself is a member of that committee. I expected him to contribute on the SRC. In fact, he should wait to respond to the majority leader on that issue when he's canvassing. And in fact, I'd asked him to contribute, Madam Speaker. The only thing that he's doing is to respond to the honorable majority leader on something that is true anyway. It doesn't need, you know, under Standing Order 91, you know what he was saying is true. So there was nothing for you to respond to, other than to contribute to the motion that is in place. So thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Ainapkoi, Honorable Chepkonga. I think I only indulged you, Honorable Member for Nyando, hoping that within a few sentences you will come up with the standing order. But I think you've made your point. Let us allow the Honorable Member for Machakos County, Honorable Joyce Kamene, to complete her.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Finally, let me state that SRC's main role is to set and regulate salaries of state officers, and that its role is advisory when it comes to salaries and benefits of other public officers. So I support the Committee of Legislation on this issue of ARC. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Emuhaya, Honorable Omboko Milema, aka Mwalimu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for acknowledging my teaching profession. Honorable Speaker, if there's any one profession that has been hurt most by SRC are the teachers of Kenya. And they have continuously released circulars and letters which otherwise control everything in terms and conditions of service for the teachers. And this has made the teachers of Kenya stagnate in the same job groups for the longest time. Currently, the teachers of Kenya are still stagnated and remain at a CBA that was negotiated in 2016. Since that particular time is over 10 years ago. SRC has been given some extra leeway, and this historically began with the time when it was thought that SRC would control the wage bill. Since then, the wage bill has reduced. In fact, what is increasing our CFS in terms of recurrent expenditure is payment of the loans, and not the wage bill. The wage bill, Honorable Madam Speaker, has really reduced, and in fact it has gone down by about 13% compared to what it was. Honorable Speaker, let me tell you what SRC is doing in this particular regulation. That SRC wants to proceed and usurp the powers of all other commissions so that it remains the only commission that will overrule and oversee the other commissions, which is wrong as per the Constitution, because all the 10 commissions that are independent are only subject to the Constitution. The SRC, Honorable Speaker, wants to take over negotiation of CBAs from both the employer and the unions of this country. Honorable Speaker, the SRC has already terminated any acting allowances for workers in this country, specifically for teachers, despite the Employment Act Section 4A,
which allows for that. Honorable Speaker, the SRC has terminated special allowance, which is allowed in the Labor Relations Act and the Labor and Employment Act. Honorable Speaker, the SRC has currently stopped any negotiations with workers of this country through a letter which I think also the chair of this committee will be receiving so that you may squash it. Because as per the law, workers are supposed to negotiate CBS after 3 years, but the SRC has stopped it via a letter only. Today, Madam Speaker, the SRC has gone ahead, and this is a very sad story, that there is a group of workers in this country called the ECD teachers. The ECD teachers who were completely volunteers for over the years. But along the way, the county government, Honorable Speaker, picked the ECD teachers and gave them some contractual work. Today, the SRC, via a circular, which I'm having and which we shall be surrendering to the chair of this committee, has reduced the salaries of those ECD teachers by between 7,000 to 10,000 Kenya shillings. And in fact, they have reduced some of the salaries to below the minimum wage. That is the commission we are dealing with, Honorable Speaker. I want to tell you, Honorable Speaker, that the SRC today, in these regulations, was pursuing to have the control of regulating pensions of all our workers in the country, which is against the law, because the pensions are under the Pensions Act, the Treasury, and other institutions that have been mandated to do that. Honorable Speaker, in this regulation, the SRC was even trying to change the formula. Honorable members should listen to this. To change the formula of calculating pensions, which has been there for several years. So soon you'll realize that your pensions are calculated lower than they should have been calculated because of these regulations by the SRC. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, the SRC is trying to make sure that the pensions of all workers are reduced. Having said all that, I want to commend this committee for having annulled all the regulations of Salaries and Remuneration Commission in total. I want them to follow up and deal with the issue of reducing the salaries of nursery or ECD teachers. The ECD teachers have no voice and nobody is speaking for them. But I know this parliament will speak for the ECD teachers of Kenya, whose salary has been reduced from 18,000 to below 15,000, which is the minimum wage required by the International Labor Relations Convention number 98. It is high time SRC got under control. It's high time that we regulated SRC, because all these, Honorable Speaker, they do it without public participation, they do it without consulting anybody, and they have had always their way out. I want to support the report and ask that this committee continues to deal with the many other circulars that have been given by the SRC, including the one on ECD teachers, which one of the county governments has already started applying, and that's the Mutembei County. It's the first one to have reduced the salaries of those particular teachers. In law, a salary that somebody is enjoying cannot be reduced. If it were to be reduced, it's required in law, the Labor Instruments Act, that a conversation ensures. And there must be a real big thing that has happened, what we call force majeure, like when we had the COVID. That's when you go to an extent of reducing people's salaries. So therefore, I want to support this report, and thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well spoken, member for Emuhaya. The Honorable Peter Kihungi, member for Kangemi. Looks like the member for Kangemi has stepped out. The Honorable Rindikiri Mugambi, member for Vuri.
My vice chair, I can represent.
Seems to have stepped out of the house. I would also like our technical department to check whether indeed these members have pressed or there is a problem with the system. No. The Honorable Donya Doris, member for Kisii County. I'm very sorry, honorable members. The system also indicates to me that that member has pressed the button. Honorable members, I'll go to the Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, member for Mbere. You may proceed, honorable member for Mbere North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm a member of the Delegated and Registration Committee, which sat and looked at these matters of SRC, Madam Speaker. We had an occasion to invite the commissioners, as well as the CEO of the SRC, to come and explain all these as far as the regulations which they were proposing for our consideration, the consideration of this House is concerned. Madam Speaker, if there is a Constitutional Commission which does not understand its mandate, is SRC. Because the mandate of SRC is clearly stipulated in our Constitution on what they are supposed to do, but they end up to give themselves powers which they don't have, which is not provided by the laws of this country. Madam Speaker, actually this House should go a step further, either demand the vacating of the office of all the commission of SRC, because they have continued to mislead and misguide different government bodies in terms of their salaries and remuneration. They have taken the judiciary into circles. They have taken the Teacher Service Commission into circles. They have taken even this Parliamentary Service Commission into circles, and many other institutions. For instance, Madam Speaker, we have the state law employees who works day and night, who burn their, put a lot of effort to work together with the Ministry of Treasury, of National Treasury. But you'll find that the state law officers, they cannot benefit from their allowances which are required for putting extra work because SCRC give guidelines which are completely out of the law. And this has been the case not only between the state law office and the National Treasury, but also many other government officers who are working very hard for the Republic of Kenya, but they cannot get their benefit because SRC is not understanding clearly what they are supposed to do and what their mandate is. Under the commission of, under the select committee of delegated registration, Madam Speaker, it is our considered opinion as a committee of this House that we have complete annulment of what SLC has proposed through the regulations, and it was mischievous also, because if you look at the timing on when those regulations were purported to have come into effect was at the wee hours of the tour of the Parliament. Why is it that they could not bring those regulations in the appropriate time for the purposes of proper debate of this House? So it is clear they don't have good faith, they don't have good intentions, they don't understand their role and mandate. And Madam Speaker, I support the recommendations of the Delegated Registration Committee, and I move forward also, Madam Speaker, to seek
that the commissioners of SRC, they should resign because they are taking our nation into circles. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Member from Mbeere North. The Honorable Onyango Oyo, Member for Muhoroni.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice to this serious debate. Madam Speaker, I want to commend the committee for coming up with prioritizing changes in the way that our SRC operate. SRC is a beneficiary of the 2010 constitutional review that was done by this country, and that's what created this monster called SRC. Upon resuming office, I don't know whether by design or default, they have decided that their main mandate is to review emoluments and benefits of parliament, apart from other Kenyan workers. Throughout the world, there is nobody who is ready to give away what he has, and all the representative workers are advised that what they have, they must jealously guard and fight for more. But SRC, rather than developing or sticking to their mandate, which are supposed to advise, they have become menace to the workers' organizations, and sometimes even encroaching into the field of that which is not dealt into the field of theirs. I am wondering that even the SRC, last time they did something to do with Parliament, we had they duped Parliament into Parliamentary Service Commission into believing that they had created house allowance for the parliamentarians, when indeed it's just one allowance they split into two, and part of it became house allowance, and one remained standalone, and they want Kenyans to believe that employees, the parliamentarians now have a house allowance, their income has improved, and so on and so forth. So I want them to be taken to task to either ship in or ship out if they cannot run their mandate to prescription. I also want to advise the workers to stand firm and make sure everywhere that they stand firm against this encroachment of SRC into their various income mandates. Without ending, Madam, I want to correct something. My good friend Ichungwa has left, but I want him to know that if he's a serious parliamentarian heading a serious job like majority leader, he should be the towering figure of the government in the House, and he should be having the intelligence of the country at hand. When we were with my colleague, the MP for Nyando, we were not talking about something about Monday or insulting somebody. Jared is a representative of Nyando, and Nyando and Moroni once stood as Nyando, and Moroni was split out of Nyando. With the last 2 days, we have had small skirmishes at the border arising from some rice farms, and the people have fought. One may have just been died, and this is what we are trying to resolve here as leaders. It has nothing to do with his imaginations, and if he's in charge, let him get the correct information and advise the government well. Otherwise, I want to support.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nyeri Town, Honorable Maina Madenge. The Honorable Abraham Kirwa, Member for Mosop. Seems to have stepped out. The Honorable Adan Haji, Member for Mandera West.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I also stand to support the motion that the so-called Salaries Commission has become a nightmare in the Kenya's livelihoods. Theirs is to threaten, theirs is to chop whatever they see without any consultation, without any basis for the law, without public participation, without looking at the effect and the negative effect that it will have on the Kenyan population. It is as if they are a hyena who has been released to a herd of goats to do justice. What could a hyena done to a herd of goats to do justice? It's just to eat and chew, nothing else. So the SRC has gone and give itself powers that the Constitution has not given them. They have gone out of their way, give themselves authorities that are nowhere else in this country. I remember sometimes early this year when Parliament had a recess, and they appeared there. And when they were asked few questions, their answers were very unsatisfactory. Theirs was a sort of self-defense, no logic behind it, and therefore, I think this very noble house, which is here for the sake of the wananchi, we are here, we are elected by the wananchi to make sure that anything that is done by this government is beneficial to this country. But when SRC does all activities that they do just to have negative effect on the economy, negative effect on the communities, negative effect on leadership, and negative effect on everybody. With these few remarks, I stand to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member for Mandera West. The Honorable Beatrice Elachi, Member for Dagoretti North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also rise to appreciate the committee and to thank the chair for this initiative and this very serious issue in terms of rejecting the draft Salaries and Remuneration Commission's regulations. Madam Speaker, one of the things that we have to ask ourselves, as much as the new constitution, the 2010 constitution, gives us an opportunity to appreciate that we can agree and support each other, the most unfortunate thing is that the Salaries and Remunerations Commission has deliberately refused just to work with other organizations. And the issue of salaries is not just the issue of Parliament, because whenever we talk about it, people think we are talking about Parliament. But you realize there are different commissions. We have the Judicial Service Commission, we have the TSC, we have many other commissions, and each of them, the most important thing the Salaries and Remuneration should do is to sit down and agree on recommendations that can favor. I have never seen in the world, even in the ILO agreements, even in the ILO labor laws, even in our own labor laws, even when you are in an institution and you're a CEO and you demote, you cannot remove the salary. But you find that the SRC has powers at any given time to decide today you have to earn this and tomorrow you can earn less. I think one of the things now we should go back to SRC is to look at how have they been, what formula do they normally use in terms of looking at different institutions? And why is it, Madam Speaker, when we agree that you are in the same scale with, for example, permanent secretaries, for example, CSS, and yet you find yourselves earning less, remuneration in terms of allowances less, but then nobody comes and tells you the reason. And I think if indeed they did a job analysis of each of these institutions, then you are able to determine what type of job group can you give each. And I think where we are now in conflict with them, it is just this issue of public participation. And SRC just refusing to appreciate the CBAs that have been signed in this country, and also allowing that after every 3 years, you are able to come up just the same way the law says after 3 years, you must promote. Then after 3 years, SRC should come and define and say, these are the job groups that we have defined, this is what we need to pay. The most sad part was when they decided now the ECD teachers can earn at this level. And you realize, if there's anything, everyone that we are here proud of, is the foundation you started with when you joined your ECD school. That is the teacher who starts your foundation. In Europe, those are the teachers that are most acknowledged, paid well. But you find in our country, Kenya, SRC, who also women are there. And I will tell you, Madam Speaker, women are the ones who, most ECD teachers are women. Are we saying that this is a commission that does not even look, that does not even quantify to see the job that this teacher is going to do? So for me, as we reject, we want to also reject other regulations. And we are telling Chair, during the last, in 2017 to 2022, there are many regulations, Madam Speaker, that were passed that need to be relooked at. As much as SRC, and we have to now redefine in the Constitution, Parliament is the arm that deals with regulations, that you must approve those regulations on the floor of this House. So therefore, as I support the committee in terms of rejecting these regulations, I just want to say it is time also for SRC to ensure public participation is taken seriously, and also, as we launched today, open partnerships, open government partnerships, we want to now to see how we can work together with them in openness and transparency on how they deal with these issues. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support the rejection of these regulations.
Very well spoken, member for Dagoretti North. The Honorable Bidu Tubi, member for Isiolo South. Seems to have stepped out. The Honorable Pauline Lenguris, member for Samburu County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for granting me this opportunity to support the motion on the floor. I want also to inform the House that I'm a member of that committee. And we have sat as a committee and went through all the regulations. And as a committee, Madam Speaker, we realized that SRC has really overstepped into the roles and responsibilities of other independent bodies which have been assigned responsibility in this country. Madam Speaker, we know that the TSC Commission has a responsibility of employing, deploying, regulating, and also setting the remuneration for teachers of this country. But as you look at what the Act stipulates, is that SRC has gone into the responsibility that is not theirs, because, Madam Speaker, this is the work of the commission that was established. We have realized that SRC has overstepped the roles and mandates of the independent body. We have also noted, Madam Speaker, that SRC had stopped the negotiation with the workers of this country, which is their real responsibility. And we have seen a lot of cry and concerns of workers, people complaining, workers being demoralized, because SRC has never given them an ear to hear their grievances and try to regulate the remuneration of workers of this country. Madam Speaker, SRC also have really frustrated the ECD teachers of this country. As mentioned by one of the members here, I think there is no law that allows a body to reduce the salary which has been earned by an individual for some time. But what the SRC has gone to do, Madam Speaker, is that they have gone ahead to reduce the salary of the ECD teachers of this country, and they are really suffering. We know that we all have kids, and all of our kids are first nurtured by the ECD teachers. And if these teachers are not motivated, Madam Speaker, they will not be able to discharge their roles as expected. So that is one of the roles that we need this commission to go and relook, because Madam Speaker, that decision, I think, was not right and need to be revisited as soon as possible. Madam Speaker, we have also realized that SRC also wants to reduce the pension of workers of this country. And if someone has worked for so many years, and you are also nearing retirement, and instead of you getting a good package, the commission, I think, has no role to go ahead and reduce the pension of workers of this country. That's demoralizing, and also ensuring that workers of this country will not enjoy their benefit. So, Madam Speaker, as being a member of that committee, and also being a leader who is concerned by the concerns raised by the workers of this country, I want to support the motion on the floor of this House in rejecting with totality the recommendations made by SRC and any other law that they have passed that has entrenched into the rights and privileges of workers of this country. Madam Speaker, even this own House, I'm sure the members are not speaking, but there are issues that have been touched or reduced by the same commission, the SRC, which is also affecting the work and facilitation of workers of this House. So we want SRC to go and look into their roles and do the work as stipulated in their mandate. With these few remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to support the rejection of the recommendations made by SRC to this Honorable House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well spoken, member for Samburu. The minority leader, the Honorable James Wandai.
Madam Speaker, I've just rushed in to make my voice be heard on this very critical issue. And let me start by thanking the Honorable Chepkonga. I've seen him there looking at me. No, he's my friend. You know, Honorable Chepkonga has breathed some new life into this committee on delegated legislation. And I'm saying this from experience. Yeah. You know, Madam Speaker, under the Statutory Instruments Act, it is quite clear that delegated legislation or regulations or what have you can only have a force of law once approved by this House. But in the past, these characters have just been running around developing regulations and implementing them without caring whether we approve them or not. You see? So I am happy that for the first time, this House is stamping its authority. That wherever you are out there, whether you are a cabinet secretary, whether you are whoever, whether you are a commission, if you intend to develop regulations that can have the force of law, you must subject them to the approval process in this House. In fact, it doesn't say Parliament, it's National Assembly. Okay? So that's the first point, Madam Speaker. The second point is on the matter of SRC, specifically. Madam Speaker, some of us who were on the trenches when this new constitution was being backed, I can tell you that it was never the intention of anybody to create another monster in the name of SRC. The idea was noble, that you don't allow public officers, state officers, including parliamentarians, to determine their own benefits and remuneration and salary and so on and so forth. But it was never the intention of the drafters of the Constitution and indeed of Kenyans when they approved that Constitution in the referendum of 2010, that would in the process be creating another monster which shall be lording over everybody. Okay? And therefore I am in full support of the decision of the committee chaired by my good friend Chepkonga to reject in total these proposed regulations. These proposed regulations. Because, Madam Speaker, in as much as SRC was established under the Constitution. We must also take into cognizance the fact that other commissions were equally created. Yeah. Yes. In the same manner SRC was created, the Public Service Commission was also created. The Parliamentary Service Commission was also created. The Teacher Service Commission was also created with clear mandates. And I don't think at all that these mandates clash in any way. If you take a keen reading of the Constitution, I don't think so. It's only that the SRC has had an appetite for encroaching onto territories which don't belong to them. They have got an insatiable appetite for encroaching into territories. Okay? I don't want to use that word. Honorable Herman. You see, so that this House, by taking this decision, we shall be creating some sense of order and discipline. Okay? And to make it clear and loud and clear to the SRC that if it can be independent, as it is indeed envisaged by the Constitution, but it must be made to understand that it reports to this House. Yes, when all is said and done, the only authority that has got oversight role over these other commissions is National Assembly. National Assembly. Okay? They don't report to anybody else. The president, whoever, but they report to this House. This House gives them budget. This House oversights how they spend that budget. Okay? And this House actually can disband them, you know. I'm sure you know that. Yes, if anybody is doubting, they must be reminded that this House has got unfettered power to create and disband. Okay? So we don't want to go there. But let sanity reign. I want to plead with the current SRC, the chairperson and the commissioners. Please come back. Climb down from your high pedestal. Come back to the ground and acclimatize yourself. Acquaint yourself with your mandate as provided for under the Constitution. Reappraise yourself of really what you are supposed to be doing under the Constitution. Madam Speaker, this tug of war, this back and forth, is totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. If every other institution or agency would be operating in good faith, we would not have this kind of push and pull every now and then. The end result is that ultimately they want to bastardize Parliament. Oh, you see, Parliament, which is trying to. I was today reading some commentary in the Star. You know, I'm an avid reader of newspapers. I was reading some commentary in the Star by one activist. Now trying to castigate Parliament for doing its work, really, because by Parliament rejecting these resolutions, just doing its work. Yeah, it was now the intention of the draft of the Constitution that these regulations, once they are drafted, they'll just basically be passed through here, through Parliament as a formality. I don't think Parliament was meant to be a conveyor belt. The reason why Parliament or National Assembly was given the mandate to approve such regulations was that it could as well refuse to approve them. Yeah, so I think let's let this be the last debate on this matter, in my view. And I want to encourage the chairman and his committee on the legislation to keep a keen eye on all these actors, all these agencies, all these ministries, all these state departments, which will be coming up with regulations from time to time. Let them know once and for all that there's not a route. You cannot develop regulations and have them implemented through the back door. They must pass through this House. So that if in the wisdom of this House, they need to be enriched, they need to be changed, they need to be amended, let it be so, Madam Speaker. So I don't think we need to belabor the point. we must also say again that if anybody thinks that what the Constitution has given him or her is not enough, you can bring forth your suggestions on how we can improve on your mandate if the time comes for reviewing the Constitution. But as it is, unless the Constitution is reviewed or amended otherwise, you have to live with what you are given by the Constitution. Madam Speaker, the country is going through difficult times. So we need to be focusing on more serious issues. This country is going through very difficult times. And even the workers, the Kenyan employees, whose salaries and benefits are being determined by this SRC, are going through very rough time, Madam Speaker. So that any attempt to claw back on benefits or gains that employees have gotten over time can only be a tantamount to punishment, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we speak, the value of the Kenyan shilling, the value of the Kenyan shilling has dropped to unprecedented levels. Never in the history of this country has the Kenyan shilling lost against the dollar in the money it has lost in the last couple of months. So it's also behalf of this House, even as we reject these regulations, to find out exactly where the rain started beating us. What is it that has caused this kind of situation, Madam Speaker? Is it bad politics? If so, why can't we fix it? There seems to be something happening in this country which is making life increasingly unbearable to all Kenyans, and more so those who are at the low-income earning brackets. Okay? So, Madam Chairman, as I support this motion, let's also fix the politics that is causing this problem of the Kenyan shilling value dropping like a stone thrown from the sky. Now, Speaker, I thought, okay, sorry. Madam Speaker, you may think I am saying this in jest, but it's a very serious issue.
I'll give you...
it's a very serious issue.
Minority Leader, your time is up, but I'll give you another 2 minutes.
Okay. That the country is grappling with serious issues of skyrocketing prices of basic commodities. The Kenyan currency has lost value in a manner that we have never witnessed in the past. These are issues that should actually make our minds be engaged on. And I don't seem to see any effort being made in that direction. So I think it behoves all of us, to come together and address this issue, Madam Speaker. Because otherwise, you see, in a country of about 50 million people, if more than 90% are undergoing this kind of suffering, Madam Speaker, one day will cause a revolution. Yeah. People out there are not able to make ends meet, Madam Speaker. So this House must find a mechanism of addressing this situation, and before it gets out of hand, Madam Speaker. So I think this is a good start. Let's reject these regulations like yesterday, and let's also reject others which could be having similar mischief. I'm sure you know them, Madam Chairman. Yeah. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Minority Leader. The Honorable Jackson Kosgei, nominated member.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I take the floor to support the motion. And when it is sad to realize that sometimes those who lead and operationalize the functions of certain bodies created by the Constitution becomes overzealous as to forget that you can never be so independent, too independent, and independent from others. When the Constitution and the drafters of the Constitution drafted and given a provision for this particular commission, they said it is subject to this Constitution. What it means, it is this Constitution and organizations and other commissions created within which are also constitutional. So in their operation, they must at all times realize this. Over time, Madam Speaker, there has been a lot of complaints because SRC touches on human resource. It touches on management of the workforce in the country at all levels, in all cadres. It must be able to spur growth, spur confidence, and spur retainability of staff and workers in every position they are in. So, Madam Speaker, I think it is upon this House to make sure that no organization created by law takes advantage of its provision and discretion to stifle the progress and be insensitive to the needs of the people. With this, Madam Speaker, I support the recommendation and the committee for their findings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Koskei. The Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi, member for Westlands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to support the report of the Delegated Legislation Committee, Madam Speaker. I served in this committee for the last 2 terms of this Parliament, and I know the kind of work they do. Madam Speaker, the decision by the committee to reject these regulations is in order. And Madam Speaker, this SRC has been very notorious in trying to interfere in the work of other committee, independent and constitutional commissions. For example, we have the Public Service Commission, we have Parliamentary Service Commission, which are equally created by the same constitution. And Madam Speaker, SRC has been overstepping their mandate to try and regulate these other constitutional commissions without any authority at all. Madam Speaker, this SRC, their objective, sole objective, was to try and harmonize the salaries of public officers and try and bring it to the level that the discrepancy that was there is ironed out. But they forgot all about that. In fact, they thought that all they need to do is to frustrate other commissions. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we are in support, and when any regulations that comes to this committee, Madam Speaker, the first threshold, if there was no public participation, it falls on its face. There's no bargaining about that. And we want just to make sure that this commission, Madam Speaker, is also put to task, because who is regulating them? We should also be having somebody to check even their own salaries, because they have their salaries and nobody checks them, and they don't even regulate them themselves. So we need to have how we deal with it. This House passes the budget for them, and they have always overstepped their mandate by frustrating this House and interfering with the Parliamentary Service Commission, Madam Speaker. And that is why we must reject these regulations in entirety and make sure, Madam Speaker, that let them work within the core mandate that was given to them by the Constitution, and the same Constitution, Madam Speaker, can take it away. I believe that even this commission has overstayed its usefulness. It needs to be disbanded. It's my own opinion, Madam Speaker. Thank you for giving me that chance, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Westlands. Next will be the Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe, Member for Navakolo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to join my colleagues in supporting this very noble decision to reject these proposed regulations by SRC. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Honorable Chepkonga for what he has done to us in terms of deciding to make sure that the right regulations come before this House. Honorable Speaker, the SRC is established through Chapter 15 as an independent commission, among other various commissions. and being the commission in charge of salaries and remuneration in this republic, Honorable Speaker, does not give it a senior mandate over others. Instead, it gives it a mandate to superintend over issues to do with salaries and remuneration. And Honorable Speaker, one of the cardinal rules in our Constitution today is the issue of public participation. And when you are superintending over other colleagues, for instance, a colleague in this House who is a leader of majority, he is just elevated by virtue of the position to help coordinate us into an organized sitting. That does not mean, Honorable Speaker, his role will be now to render some injuries to other members. That is the similar way, Honorable Speaker, the Commission on Salaries and Remuneration is doing to others. Whereas in public, Honorable Speaker, we look at the issue of public participation. When it comes to inter-commission relations, the principle of consultation should apply. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, where Salaries and Remuneration does not consult equivalent commissions, then it goes beyond the powers which it's bestowed to by the Commission. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I feel the proposal in this amendment, in these regulations, was going far beyond, and it's important that the committee has an eagle eye to see what was going wrong, and therefore seeking that we annul it and reject it completely, so that, Honorable Speaker, let it be a lesson to others who would want to look into various organizations with mandate beyond what they are supposed to do. Honorable Speaker, SRC many a times would want to have a look at other commissions and decide behind the scenes. And more often, Honorable Speaker, immediately Parliament is adjourned sine die, the SRC now sits and decides on what happens to with the next Parliament. Honorable Speaker, Kenya is a signatory to various treaties. ILO is one of them. What does the ILO say in terms of earning salary where you have been in the same organization and you have been doing the same job? A member of Parliament coming in for the second term has been in this House, has been an employee of Parliamentary Service Commission. Why are we now changing the salary and the terms of engagement of that member? What has changed? Does it mean when you upgrade and get a second term, you cease to be a normal member, you upgrade and become a lesser member? Are you motivating now first-term MPs to advance and become second-time members? Is experience, therefore, SRC looks at issues from one angle. On another angle, it talks about experience. Experience being a position and allowing to enable somebody to earn more. What now and then changes when it comes to a member of Parliament? What then changes such that now that member is looked down upon? Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the issue of double speak in terms of SRC is what now makes us feel it is not a better organization, it's not a good organization to help the Kenyan people to move on. ILO treaty put it that you cannot pay a worker lesser than amount is earning today in a future engagement for the same job. Therefore, in that case, Honorable Speaker, it really puts us in an awkward position when we stand before our colleagues. Honorable Speaker, let them join the politics and then we move forward. But let them behave like any other commission as they do. Independent commissions are very independent and they want to move on independently. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I wish to salute my good friend, the Honorable Chepkonga, and your committee. You've done us proud. Any other issue coming here, Honorable Speaker, in the same manner, we stand together, make sure that this country moves forward as one, where the rule of law is the order of the day. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support the committee's report.
Thank you, Member for Navakolo. The next opportunity, honorable members, goes to the Honorable Musa Sirma, member for Eldama Ravine.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First and foremost is to congratulate the Committee on Delegated Legislation for finding it wise to be able to audit some of the illegal regulations which have been put in place, which are bringing in an inequality in terms of how people have been employed. I want to support the rejection of these regulations which have been imposed by, which SRC wanted to impose on state and other public officers. One is once you have been employed, the Constitution does not allow anybody to reduce your salary at the same, on the same position. And therefore, I would like to say that SRC has become a monster to most of the Kenyans, and they are abrogate themselves responsibilities which are not theirs. I would also like to encourage Honorable Chepkonga and his committee to bring a motion of impeachment to SRC so that they get disciplined and know that there is law which protects these other people who are not able to come and talk on their behalf in Parliament. Public participation is the only forum where public servants usually go. But in the absence of that, it is an illegality and an inhuman right. They are so inhuman in that they want to reduce the salaries of people. I also want to say, I had a candid discussions with some of the commissioners, including the chair, who actually said, we have no business with you, we shall do what we want, and that is why I am proposing that since they do not know what is supposed to be done, Parliament should teach them a lesson. And I want the Honorable, the chair of SRC to read what was done in the 8th Parliament, or in the 10th Parliament here. When we amended the Act of Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority and brought in the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Authority, we omitted the transitional arrangement, and PLO Lumumba lost his job. We can still do the same for these arrogant commissioners, to know that Kenyans whom we represent and the voice of the people of Kenya are in this house. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the committee, and we want to really ask them to go further to other regulations which have been put in place, which are illegal and dictatorial in nature, which makes the common person or the common man in this country disadvantaged. With those remarks, Madam Chair, I beg to support the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation. Thank you.
Very well, Member for Eldama Ravine. Honorable members, the next opportunity goes to the Honorable Tom Odege, Member for Nyatike.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. If there is a day I would say I'm a very happy man, is today, because I can see Parliament today acting as Parliament and sending a very strong message that we are the legislators in this country, and we can make some records being very straight. Some of us who have been in the labor movement and have been people in the representation of workers, we have faced the true wrath of SRC. And I can tell you for sure, currently, if you are representing workers in the public service, you have no business negotiating with the public servant, with the public service ministry, because you will not go anywhere. Whether the government will say they are willing to pay, SRC will say no. But the most unfortunate thing, SRC has not taken chance to negotiate with the workers. They'll wait for you to negotiate. After negotiating, they want you to subject the agreement to them, and then they mark that agreement as if it was an examination paper. And when they are marking this agreement, there is no single day SRC will come up with a favorable agreement for the workers. leave alone those who are in the private sector. In the public service, now you talk about the doctors. Doctors negotiated, got a CBA signed with Kenyatta National Hospital, was subjected to SRC. It was rejected. Kenyatta said they have money to pay. SRC said no, they were not given that money. In the public service, where we have public servants, now the civil servants, we negotiated with the Ministry of Public Service. We agreed that workers do deserve to be given an increment. When it reaches SRC, they said no money. In fact, what I want to say here today, as Parliament, I want to refer ourselves back because partly we have failed the country. Why am I saying this? When you look at the first lady who chaired SRC, was a banker. This lady who is chairing SRC today, I don't know her background, but I've traced her record in the public service. She has never been a public servant. This thing is entirely about public servants. And when we are talking about public servants and the work of SRC, it's a human resource function. Why do we bring people who don't have any experience in the public service to come and frustrate public service itself? The kind of people we are recruiting in SRC is the problem of SRC. If we can identify ourselves, we have so many career civil servants in this country, people who have made service to grow. Those should be the right people who should be vetted to head an organ of this importance. But the current people we have, whom I would say are political rewards, will never understand what public service is, will continue suffering and will continue singing songs here every day, and public servants will never get what is rightfully theirs. I want to challenge Parliament here today. Come the budget of June, we need to go extra mile and ignore SRC and budget for salary increment for all public servants in this country. Let them reject, but let us put it in the budget. Because I can tell you for sure, come July this year, we'll encounter so many strikes because life has become very unbearable to workers in the public service. If you want to do a typical example, the government introduced COVID allowance in the public service in the year 2012. That allowance has not been reviewed to date. If you want to know public servants are suffering in this country, tomorrow very early in the morning, go to Uhuru Park. You see the walking public servants to work. They cannot afford fare. Majority of these people, the house allowance paid to them, they cannot stay near a town here. They must stay in Kayole. You can't afford a bus from Kayole to your area work in town or community. You walk in the morning. This is how the government is losing. If you walk from Kayole, you have to wake up at 5 so that you are in your office at 8. With all the risks in this road from Kayole to town, you'll bear it because you want to protect your job. On reaching community, you are tired. With an empty stomach, you have to take a glass of water. You need another 1 or 2 hours to rest and recover before you start working. Who is losing? The government. You are happy you're seeing people are reported on work, but they don't have ability to work. They're tired. These people will wait for tea at 10, which they must put extra sugar so that they get more energy to push them until lunchtime. After lunchtime, whether you like it or not, this person is tired, he'll be sleeping on the job. Then you are seeing them in the workstation, but they're not delivering. So it is important for us now as Parliament to see that these people are remunerated accordingly. These people are motivated to go and work, but the first thing we must fix SRC. My recommendation is that we need to kick out this SRC. We participate as government and especially Parliament in determining who are going to sit in this commission. And we ensure people who are going there are people with a record in the public service. People we know their background, people who are working in the service, people who know how people are suffering in the service, but not people who are poached from outside. A banker knows nothing in the public service. You can't bring a banker to chair a key organ like this one. And they have never worked in the public service. They don't know how people are suffering here. So the first keyword, let us kick this team out. Then we participate in the recruitment of the new team of those who are coming in the service, and we must know their background. And we have to keep checks on them so that they don't abuse. If they have abused those people outside there, and they have the audacity of coming in and abuse the parliamentarians here, then who else is remaining? They'll be the country, not ourselves. So we must be in charge and make sure people who are working for Kenyans outside there are motivated. Like now you talk about doctors in Kenyatta. After refusing their CBA, which they signed, do you expect these people to be motivated enough to serve our people? People will be there and we are suffering. And those are the people who are treating us outside there. But don't forget, the most disadvantaged now, the people who are on the watchdog, like MPs. If MPs are now the ones suffering, who will fight for the Kenyans outside there? Nobody. So it's high time we need to stand up as parliament in this country, and everybody should know that we have the responsibility of fixing all these departments in the Republic of Kenya. And we make Kenyans be in a position to reap fruits of their sweat. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Member for Nyatike. The next opportunity, honorable members, goes to the member for Samburu East, the Honorable Jackson Lekumontare. Please trace the member.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this chance to contribute to this debate and the report of the committee. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, I support the report. This is a very good report analyzed by the committee, and what they have recommended, Honorable Speaker, it is a very good guidelines. And I think, Speaker, this commission, SRC, they have been acting in a very awkward manner, and they want to be supervisors of other commission. And just as other members have said, that there are so many commissions in our constitution, and I think consultation is very important when it comes to acting maybe in the areas concerning other commission. And Honorable Speaker, even in our counties, the staff from county governments are really crying over this SRC because they are controlling everything. And I think, to me, I am looking at them as if they are lacking what to do. So they want to create for themselves a work to do. And the committee has done a very good job, Honorable Speaker, that this dictatorial kind of leadership should be stopped. Honorable Speaker, the Commission, even what they want to be controlling now, the pension, that is the worst thing they can ever do. Because if they have failed to even regulate and guide and advise when it comes to salaries, then I think they want again to go and kill our old people when they go, they retire. Because if you retire and you don't have a pension, it is calculated in a very lower rate, then there is nobody there, Honorable Speaker, to take care of these elderly people who have served the country. And I think it is high time, Honorable Speaker, that the SRC should not work in isolation. They should know that they are supposed to consult during that period, and without public participation, they really don't go anywhere. And I think we have to look at even the way they have been operating. Because SRC, over the time they have been there, I think they have messed the employees of Kenya for a very long time. And the regulations they are using, even what they are using currently, Honorable Speaker, should be looked into. Because I think they may not have passed even through Parliament. So I think it is our high time we have to look at all these regulations which will be implemented without passing here. And I know, Honorable Speaker, even the issue of CPC that we have challenged in implementing, CPC regulation never passed even Parliament. And that is why we have a serious problem even implementing that. So I think we have to be awake and try to look at all those regulations for the sake of the people and the employees of Kenya. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support the report.
Thank you very much, Member for Samburu East. Honorable members, I would like to give this opportunity to the member for Mathare, the Honorable Anthony Oluoch. The member for Mathare seems to have stepped out. The next opportunity, then, honorable members, goes to the Honorable Wanjiku Muhia, member for Kipipiri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to put my voice. First, congratulating this committee and Honorable Chepkonga, and I had the benefit of listening to him as he moved this report, which is very, very well elaborated. Honorable Speaker, first I would like to provoke members' thoughts, and I'm just imagining when we have such a debate in the House, maybe in future we may consider to be having the relevant members involved in the report at the Speaker's gallery, or maybe at the public gallery, and they listen to the House proceeding live so that they can take notes with the seriousness rather than maybe getting the second-hand information. But having said that, Honorable Speaker, many people have spoken on the same issue, that this is a commission that is established in our Constitution under Chapter 15, and as such, if it need to be disbanded, then it can only be through the Constitution. And therefore, I want to invite the members, particularly those who have not spoken on the motion of the Constitution Amendment and Standing Order changes. It's time, I think, when they are contributing, because, Honorable Speaker, I happen to have spoken, to make this recommendation also in their debate, that in this Constitution Amendment we are debating here in the House, we may need also to make an amendment in that Chapter 15, which is the founding chapter of this commission, and weigh option of either disbanding it or making its mandate clearer. Because when an employee, since SRC is also an employee, Honorable Speaker, works outside his mandate, steps other people's mandate, there can only be 2-3 things. One, either this commission has no capacity, otherwise why are they working outside their mandate? Two, either this commission has bad faith. And three, this commission simply just want to make populist statements to the media. I don't know for what reason, but I just consider them as populist. Honorable Speaker, having said that, there are so many institutions of the same kind, the TSC, we have the judiciary, and many other commissions, including the Parliamentary Service Commission. So one commission cannot redefine the agreement of an employee between an employee and an employer. This they cannot. And I am just thinking that if they are doing that which is not given to them through the articles that guide them, then it is time that this House consider that cost. They spend so many hours, they are paid so much allowances, and they do the wrong job. Who pays for this cost? This is Kenyan taxpayers' money, Honorable Speaker. Either they should refund this money or else work for free and work rightfully. Because they cannot be spending money, working, they are paid, and they do not perform the duty in accordance to the law. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, because many people have spoken, many members have spoken on the same, I want to say that SRC cannot prefect other commissions. At the same time, they cannot also have the ill motive to try to show the public that there are certain people who are given free money. No one is given free money in this country. Everyone works for the money one is paid for. Honorable member, one of the contributors have spoken of the experience. I think Honorable Wangwe. There are members here who are serving 4th term, 5th term. And a member who came here during his first term was paid Kenya shillings XX. The previous term, he was pocketing XX. Then he come, then the money is reduced. Really, is this commission aware of what they are doing? Is it ethical? Is it moral? I think it is not. So for us to cure this bad faith, Englishman says that idle man is devil's workshop. I think in the beginning this commission was working part-time, but this house approved they work full-time. So I'm imagining they have so much time and they are idle. And that is why they have to go to all employees from all quarters in Kenya. So this house should now resolve that they go back to part-time, they work on part-time basis. Honorable Speaker, a very serious offense of missing public participation, that is spoken of you without you being involved, cannot hold. Even today when you are giving bursaries and other developments, it is there in the Constitution that we have to have public participation. This is a commission that is entrusted to manage the employment and employees of this nation. But they go ahead, they stay in a room, they pass the laws, they pass the drafts and work upon them without calling the involved or the members that they are serving. So such a serious offense of not calling public participation should even entice any Kenyans, including any member from this house, to even go to court and put some charges over them, because they are literally not doing the right thing. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I think it is time that as members we stand tall and we speak on behalf of Wanjiko, of this country, because that is what we are entrusted to do. Once more, I want to thank and congratulate Honorable Chepkonga so much, because this report has captured everything. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Kipipiri, I have a point of order from the Honorable Richard Yegon, member for Bomet East. Honorable Richard, what is out of order?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise under point of order number 95 that since the House has canvassed intensively and extensively with this motion, I rise to call upon the mover to reply.
Well, the honorable member is in order to raise the matter that he has raised. There seems to be a lot of interest on this matter, so I will give two on both sides, on my right and on my left. And also it is important to note that we have a few minutes to the end of this, so I will not rule you out of order. You are in order to ask, but I'll give two more. And I will start with the Honorable Jaldesa Guyo, member for Moyale. He has been waiting for a long time to speak on this subject.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to speak on this matter. I also want to follow our colleagues and congratulate the chair of the delegated legislation for rejecting the bill as proposed by the SRC. Madam Speaker, when we came to Parliament and during the induction week, we were told one reason why the salaries of the members of Parliament were reviewed downward was because there's no academic qualification attached to being a member of Parliament. If academic qualification was the most important issue, then the university dons, who majority of PhDs, should be earning the highest salary in the country. But that is not the case. The doctors who have been highly skilled are not earning, and that's why both the university dons and the doctors keep on going on strike because of crying for salaries. Madam Speaker, SRC needs to recognize that this country is not uniform geographically. I come from a county called Marsabit, and we do not have a single medical specialist working in the county. And with one of the previous governors, we thought we can pay people higher salary so as to attract them to come and work in the county. We got people who are willing, but they were turned down by SRC because we cannot pay beyond the scale that was prescribed. That way, the community living in Marsabit failed to get the services of a specialist medical doctors because of SRC. Other than this, SRC seems to act the role of a senior commission overseeing and controlling other commissions. That should not happen. It's a commission like any other. They have their mandate, and they should just stick to their mandate. Everybody had talked about what SRC is doing to the civil servants. It looks like they anticipate the work of the civil servants when they are working, and on retirement, they live in abject poverty. Anybody aspires to have a better living, but SRC, in their not caring attitude, seems to enjoy people who are suffering. And for this, I think those who have proposed that SRC should be recalled or checked are in order. And with these few comments, I want to support the rejection of the bill, and I thank the Speaker for giving me the chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Member for Moyale. The next opportunity, honorable members, will go to the member for Mathare, the Honorable Anthony Oluoch.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I wish to stand to support and thank the committee led by my senior, Honorable Chepkonga. I have a few points to canvass in this regard, and my first point, Honorable Speaker, is to ask the question who appointed the SRC to superintend over other commissions, and who supervises the Salaries and Remunerations Commission itself. No entity under the Constitution is allowed to both set the salaries and remunerations of other commissions as well as those of its own. So, as I support these reports, I think we should go a step further and recommend a couple of things. Number one, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission seems to have been so idle that we need to consider reducing the number of commissioners from 7 to a minimum of 3, and make a further recommendation that they ought to work part-time. That is a very serious thing that this House needs to do, because if you look at some of the things that this commission did since we put it in place, and I remember sitting in the 12th Parliament putting in place, including a former honorable member of Parliament who said, once you put me in there, I will look at the welfare of members of Parliament. Immediately we put these people in place. You look at the ranking pecking order of public officers. Members of Parliament rank at 30-something to 40-something. You are a co-equal in this government. In the three arms of government, Parliament is a co-equal. In other jurisdictions, actually Parliament is the supreme organ. But we are placed at number 3, and the ostensible reason is that there is no qualification to be a member of Parliament. So they come before people who have no qualification. SRC require us to vet them. I don't know how we can vet them without any qualifications. All the Constitutional Commission come here requiring us to vet them, to plow through all those things, I don't know, with empty head, and we never went to school. How do we do that? The executive brings all the appointees, and we've done that faithfully for the executive. How do we do that? On empty heads. As I stand here, the people of Mathare would feel very offended.
We will not support SLC because it is an animal that is operating like a government by itself. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I must take this opportunity to thank all the members who have contributed and supported the recommendations of the committee. They have spoken very eloquently, very succinctly, very vividly in support of the committee's report to reject the proposed regulations that have been forwarded to this House by the SRC in accordance with Section 26(2) of the SRC Act. Madam Speaker, I'd like to reiterate that what the members of Parliament have done here is to exercise the unequivocal mandate granted to them by the Constitution under Article 95(5)(b) to oversight all state organs, including SRC. Members have spoken here, and they have spoken very clearly that SRC does not have a vertical mandate, but they have an horizontal mandate like all the other Chapter 15 commissions, the so-called independent commissions. So it cannot purport to subject their mandate, the mandate of the other commission, to their mandate, Madam Speaker, because all of them are founded on the Constitution. And so the rejection of the purported regulation is to bring them to normality and to ensure that they operate within the law, the Constitution, the regulations, and the standing orders of this House. So I would like to thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity you've given to all the members who have spoken, and for the manner in which you have conducted the affairs of this House in seeing to it that we conclude this report in a manner in which we have done, in a way that we have spoken to the issues that are core to the constitutional issues of this country. So I would like to thank all the members, thank all members of my committee for the manner in which they prosecuted the regulations as presented. And we want to thank also the Teacher Service Commission, the Parliamentary Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, and the Judicial Service Commission for appearing before the committee and making presentations that enlighten the work of this committee. So with those remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to reply.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Delegated legislation. Thank you very much, honorable members. Question to be put on this motion is deferred to the next sitting, as will be scheduled by the House Business Committee. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, approval of nominees to 3 National Government Constituency Development Fund committees.
Chairman, NGCDF committee.
Madam Speaker, I wish to move the motion that this House adopts the report of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Committee on 3 constituencies committee laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 15th March 2023, and pursuant to the provision of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraph 5, 2, and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016 approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 3 constituency development committees, 3 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund. Madam Speaker, the constituencies are Garissa Township constituency, where we had a by-election, Mbeere North constituency, where we are amending the names of 2 members, and also Narok East constituency. Madam Speaker, we want to ask the House to approve these nominees by the members from the various constituencies committees who have the various constituency panels in the various constituencies, so that these constituencies may be able to access funds for their various developments, including the bursary. Madam Speaker, I know it has been late for some of the members, and I wish that in future, may all the members do this at almost the same time, so that they do not delay their developments. So, Madam Speaker, I beg to move, and I would like to ask Honorable Geshimu of Geshugu constituency to second this motion.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion. Madam Speaker, this is more or less like a procedural motion, because the members from the constituents in question have already made sure that they comply with the requirements of gazettement of the members of the Constitutional Development Fund, National Government Constituent Development Fund committees. And it's very important so that these members can embark on the very, very important mandate of doing the proposals to forward to the board, so that they can also be able to, the constituents can benefit from the bursaries and the projects that are supposed to be funded by the very important fund, NGCDF. And I think prior to the submission of the proposals, the board may also consider at least releasing the bursary funds, which is usually a percentage of the figure that might not necessarily require a proposal, so that the children from the relevant constituencies can also benefit from the fund as they wait for the proposals for the projects that they may want to embark on. Madam Speaker, I support. Sorry, I second the motion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Gishimu. Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Committee on 3 constituency committees laid on the table of this House on Wednesday, 15th March 2023, and pursuant to provisions of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraph 5, 2, and 10 of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Regulations 2016 approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 3 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund. 1. Garissa Township constituency, names are as indicated in the order paper. 2. Mbere constituency, names are as indicated in the order paper. And 3. Narok East constituency, names are as indicated in the order paper. Thank you very much. Honorable members, the question to be put Thank you. The honorable member for the honorable Rindikiri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have some interest on CDF affairs. And because we are dealing with an element of CDF, I want to thank the chairman, the proposer, and the seconder. But I think would have been good that we should not only be seen to be discussing and passing the committee members of CDFs. I think it should be accompanied by the report on the status of revenue from CDF. Madam Speaker, I'm not out of order, but really, this would have been a good opportunity for the chairman to inform the members about the status of CDF disbursement, because I'm sure, even in Madam Speaker, there is a serious question that many people ask you, what is happening out there? Madam Speaker, the children are midterm now this week, and there is no enough fund for bursaries. Madam Speaker, as we continue approving the committees, we need to give these committees work to do. We approve the names, but they have no work to do. Madam Speaker, I saw something yesterday, I don't know whether it was fake or real, about delivery. The board. What I expected is a list of how much funds have been released to the constituencies, not where we'll be collecting parcels. In any case, which parcels are we collecting from CDF headquarters anyway? So, Mr. Chairman, as much as we have seen your report as you seeking for approval of the name to the CDF committee, first of all, give money so that now this committee that you have sought approval can have work to do. And I know you have the capacity. I think in the process of time, you need to be recognized as the best performing chairman in this house. But now, you are not working enough to force the Budget and Appropriation Committee to release our 12 million shillings. I think you need to take up that so that we can have money to pay for bursaries. We need to do infrastructure. We need so many things. But as it is right now, I ask the members present, at least let's support the chairman in approval of his list, but these people should be given work to do. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I did notice there is a change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I started with Madam Speaker. Now I'm ending with Mr. Speaker. I was just telling the chairman, requesting the chairman, as he brings the list of names to be approved, let him give us the breakdown of how much money has released to our account. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Rindikiri, I think you are very much in order. I think there's also an interest on this matter, and let me give it to Honorable Godfrey Ruku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since this is a House of Records, Mr. Speaker, it's good to put records straight. As far as the Better North constituency is concerned, it's one of the constituencies which has been learned for having two members who have been abandoned to be part of the committee of CDF. The ones which have been used by the chairman, Mr. Speaker, they are putting Better North, and especially the member of Better North in ban right. It is good to inform the Honorable Chairman that Better North Constituency Development Committee has been performing very well. There is a quorum, and every business has been conducted extremely well and professionally. We have not had any issues as far as performance of its duties under the CDF Act is concerned. So I think it is good to put that into records of this House, Mr. Speaker. Number two, different constituencies are affected in different manner. Better North constituency has experienced more than 5 consecutive season failures, in terms of crop failure. And payment of the school fees is one of the greatest problems we are having in Better North constituency, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, if the Honorable Chair can expedite the process of ensuring all constituencies in the Republic of Kenya, they get their allocations in a timely manner, it will save a lot when it comes to the pains which the household in our constituencies are fearing in terms of payment of the school fees. And of course, this will go along in improvement of academic performance of these constituencies we have in the Republic of Kenya, and more so the improvement of academic performance of Better North constituency, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I request the chairman to put more effort in ensuring we have enough resources, enough money, as well as when we request to alter allocations marked if bursary goes for 35%, when we request the board to allow us to use more than that 5%, we have well-founded reasons to do that. I know our requests are getting derailed by the bureaucracies within the CDF board. I think also, Mr. Speaker, if need be, we might revisit the CDF board where necessary, as we have done with SRC. So, Mr. Chairman, before we do that, before we take that action, please ensure the CDF board, it is behaving as if they know more of the problems of my constituents or these constituencies more than a member of parliament who has been elected in each and every village within the constituency. They should hear and respect the opinion which is coming out of serious public participation, which we have conducted during campaigns, and also even when we are having different meetings within the constituency. So our request, when we write to the board, should be at least honored, and honored in a timely manner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Any other member who wants to speak on this should put intervention so that I'll be able to see you. Just put intervention, please. Very well. Next to speak on this is Honorable Stephen Mogaka of Migirango West. Yes, proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for this kind of opportunity.
Order. For neatness, I still say that if you want to speak on this matter, just put an intervention. You may proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for this honor to add my voice to congratulating our committee chair for CDF for steering the fund this far at a time when the country is experiencing extreme challenges in its cash flow. I also want to take this opportunity to thank my CDF committee for West Mugirango constituency for being very fair in the distribution of the bursaries. We have already sorted out the secondary school goers. Today, we released checks for the university students and we are waiting for the balance from the National CDF Fund for us to finish with the tertiary institution. Mr. Speaker, as an educationist, you know that education is an equalizer, and this country must be deliberate to ensure that every child who needs intervention in their education to attain their dream in learning is given that support. And the CDF, National CDF, is that fund, the People's Fund, that helps children from poor families actualize their dreams. And I'm proud that my constituency is at the front line of ensuring that there is education support for every child from every home. And while we are at that, I also need to sympathize with the national government CDF fund because they have not got timely disbursement from the exchequer. Notwithstanding that, they have been able to avail at least the bursary fund as soon as practicable, so much so that our children have gone to school. I can't fail to recognize and appreciate our heads of schools and principals of schools who have exercised patience in not sending home those children that were depending on bursary support for their education. I particularly celebrate the principals from West Mugrango constituency who, after consultation, accepted to carry on the students as we waited for the constituency bursary disbursement. And really, if we cooperate together with stakeholders, we will ensure that every child who deserves support in education gets it. And while we are at that, I must appeal to all those who have been lucky to have been appointed to be in the committees or constituency committees of CDF throughout the country, that they have a responsibility to our children of Kenya to ensure that every child, no matter their background, no matter how they voted, get access to education and get support to get their education go through. I want to, on the same note, request that our higher education loans board needs to also be proactive and make available the loan support to our students going to colleges and universities so that our support through bursary is not in vain. Because we have cases where students have applied for higher education loans board, the money has not been given to the schools or colleges, and such students are desperate, thinking they are going to be denied exams. I appeal to vice chancellors to tell their deans of education and faculties to ensure that no child misses examination in our universities because the help portion of their funding has not come. I want to celebrate the 13th Parliament for standing firm for education, and I beg to support.
The Honorable Rashid Bedzimba of Kisauni.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa kupenyeza sauti yangu. Nichukue nafasi kumpongeza mwenyekiti wa hazina ya maeneo bunge kwa kuleta majina ya eneo bunge 3 iliweze kupitishwa. Ni vizuri sana zipitishwe kwa sababu kuna shida kubwa sana mashinani. Watoto wengi hawendi shule, hawana karo, shida zimekuwa nyingi. Kwa hivyo hizi eneo bunge 3 ambazo majina zao hazijakuja wako katika shida kubwa sana. Na ningeomba kwamba ikiwa sisi sote tutashirikiana kuhakikisha kwamba haya majina yamekuwa gazetted mapema sana kwa sababu hali ni nzito. Pia nichukue fursa hii kumweleza mwenyekiti wa hazina hiyo kwamba hakikishe kwamba anakuja kutupa taarifa kuhusu vipi fedha zitagawanywa namna gani, kwa sababu tangu kupeanwa fedha ni muda mrefu na mpaka sasa fedha hizo zingine hazijatoka. Na imekuwa sasa mtu anatoa basari ya form 1 anangoja tena anakaa toa form 2, form 3 bado, university bado. Imekuwa ni shida ni kubwa ndugu yangu mwenyekiti. Naomba wasukume kwa sababu katika ahadi walizotoa tukiwa pride in ni kwamba kila wiki mbili watatoa bilioni 4. Sasa baada ya hapo hakuna kitu hata nduru. Hali ni ngumu sana, watoto hata university wanakuwa hawaendi sasa kwa sababu ya hali ngumu ya kimaisha. Na pia ni kutahabarishe mwenyekiti kwamba board ya NGCDF inakuwa sasa wao ndo wanatoa maamuzi ni kitu gani kifanywe katika maeneo bunge. Inakuwa wananchi wamekuwa wamekusanyika wakatoa maamuzi kama eneo langu kuna usalama, uzorote wa usalama. Sasa watu wanataka security light. Sasa wamekubali tuweke security light. Ikija hapo wanasema haiwezekani. Na kule watu wanaumia. Wao sio walioko kule uwanjani. Hii ni fedha ambazo wananchi wanajiamulia wanataka nini. Wasio wao wanakaa hapa Nairobi kuamua wao. Kwa hivyo ndugu mwenyekiti, naomba uingilie hili swala. Waambie kwamba wafuate taratibu za wananchi wanaotaka. Kwa haya mengi na kushukuru Mheshimiwa Speaker, nitoe nafasi kwa mwingine na pia achangie. Asante.
I think lastly to contribute on this is Honorable Deko M. Dalo of Garissa Township.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the chairman of NGCDF for bringing the list to the floor of the House. I'm the Member of Parliament for Garissa, and I'm an interested party here. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, I'm a new Member of Parliament, and my committee is just been formed. We have serious problem on the ground, considering that the drought situation in the area. Our school-going children are not able to attend schools. I've been able to negotiate with the principals of the secondary schools at this stage to see that whether they can give us more time as the CDF committee team is being formed and being passed. Unfortunately, some of them cannot take the pressure of this, and some of these school-going children have been staying out of school for the last 2 weeks or so. I'm unable to go to my constituency as a result of that because there are a lot of questions. The constituents I'm representing do not understand these kind of procedures and these processes that we have to go through for us to disperse these funds. For that reason, I ask the chairman of the board, or rather of the committee, to expedite or see to it that this process is expedited and the committee is gazetted as soon as possible, so that I can be able to perform my functions and go and allow our school-going children to go back to school, and the schools can run smoothly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Julius Mawade, Embakasi South.
Nashukuru sana Bwana Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia kidogo kwenye huu mjadala. Nataka kumshukuru mwana mwenyekiti wa hiyo bodi ya CDF. Bwana mwenyekiti, tungelitaka kama inawezekana tafadhali tujaribu tusukume State House na wale wengine, samahani, tusukume Ministry of Finance ama Treasury, tuhakikishe kwamba hizi senti za basari zimepatikana. Kuna haja watoto kama kwangu mimi, mahali kama Mukuru kwa Njenga, Mukuru kwa Ruben, Riara Slums, wazazi wao hawana, ni watu wa mapato madogo, hawana pesa za kuwapeleka watoto shuleni. Kwa hivyo naomba tafadhali kama inavyowezekana mzungumzo na Treasury, tuwekee pesa zote za CDF na hasa pesa za basari, ndi pesa tuweze kusomesha watoto wetu. Ni watoto wengi ambao hawakuweza kwenda hata form 1, mliona kwenye runinga ama TV, wazazi wao wameshindwa kuwapeleka watoto shuleni. Kwa hivyo tunaomba tafadhali wewe na kamati yako na board nzima mtilie uzito kidogo, ndipo watoto wetu waweze kupata basari, waweze kwenda shuleni. Kwa hayo mengi na kupongeza kwa kazi iliyofanya na unaendelea kufanya, ndipo tuweze kupata hizi senti za National Government CDF. Asante sana bwana mwenyekiti.
Very well. There being no any other interest to speak on this matter, I want to call the mover to reply.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply on this, and before I finalize the reply, Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the members who have contributed to this motion, and also to take note that I'm on top of all this in terms of securing funding for the members. We've been in consultation with Treasury from time to time, and they will be able to send money to the CDF board for the onward transmission to the various constituencies. So far, every constituency has 45 million, and given that the last one was just before the supplementary budget, we are waiting for the balance of that money. At least we should be over 50% by the end of this month, so that members can be able to do their work. Also, Mr. Speaker, the member for Mbeere North, I didn't intend to put the constituency in bad light, but of course he was just amending two names, which was which is normal because the committee is working, and therefore we want to thank him for having made the committee prepare for disbursements, especially the bursaries. On the issue of reallocation of funds, Mr. Speaker, we know that the various boards will always give proposal for reallocation of funds. And I want to assure the members that it is time that the board listens to the boards, that is the national NGCDF boards, should listen to the boards in the various constituencies without question. And they have no business directing the boards within the constituencies, because they are the people who know the interest of the people. Mr. Speaker, you should also take note that very soon we shall be asking them to give us a new board. And this is the consultations which are going on now. We do not have a board. We have a board which is not fully constituted, and therefore I will be asking the minister to add the names. We are lacking 4 members of the board, and very soon we should be able to get the same. Members also have been complaining about the fund managers. Fund managers, some of them have overstayed in their in the constituencies they are in, and they are doing great damage to the use of CDF in the constituencies. We have recommended as our committee, the Committee of Parliament, that no member or no fund manager will be in one constituency for more than 5 years. And anybody who has gone beyond 5 years, we are going to transfer them and rotate them to the various constituencies within this country, of which they swore to serve in any other constituency once they are employed. Mr. Speaker, all that has brought a lot of confusion. Those who are those who have overstayed in the various constituencies have actually made life difficult to any sitting member of Parliament, and some of them ensure that those members lose. There is a constituency where one fund manager has presided over the change of 4 members of Parliament, and this one is unacceptable. And we have made our recommendations, and we are sure that within the next few days, that fund manager must leave that constituency. Also, I would like also to ask members, as they utilize these good funds, which is meant to assist the children of Kenya in form of bursaries and the various infrastructural development within the constituencies, I would like them to put a keen eye on every usage of the funds, because you find that when you take it to the schools, the head teachers at times, some of them misappropriate that money. but we have an audit committee within the county who are asleep, and or those who do not even want to look at what those committees or those the people who are utilizing the money are using them for. So we are going to put structures to be able to get that first-hand information as a committee, so that we direct the various audit committees to be able to go and see the usage of that money in the various constituencies. There's also the money which is a balance of 2.9 billion. And I would like to tell the members that that money has been appropriated in the supplementary budget, and it was translating to 12 million per constituency, and therefore the first 2 billion had been dispersed. So the balance of the 2.9 billion will be disbursed as soon as Treasury releases that amount of money. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply.
Very well, honorable members. We shall defer putting of the question until the next session. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, a report of sessions of the Organization of Africa, Caribbean and Pacific States and the European Union Joint Parliamentary Assembly.
Very well. Yes, what is your point of order, Honorable Julius Mawade?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to standing order number 35, I wish to bring it to your attention that the House has no quorum.
Very well. Sergeant at Arms, may you ring the bell for 10 minutes.
They can't, they have to wait until Tuesday to put the question, then after that, hiyo forum bill, then come out report of session of the organization, proposal to amend the constitution. What is there? What is there? There was something Tuesday. Caribbean. SCPU.
Honorable members, I can still ascertain that even after ringing the bell, we still don't have a quorum. And therefore, honorable members, and the time being 6:08 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Tuesday, 21st March 2023 at 2:30 p.m.
Football fever never stops with Showmax Pro. Watch the best live games at showmax.com.
A very, very timely conversation happening here tonight, folks. Thanks so much for staying